Fellas, how are we doing? Happy Sunday. Chuck Silver here with Occupy Fantasy. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears San Francisco 49ers showdown. I think it's a pretty interesting one. If you are a member of Occupy Fantasy, checking out the model, you might have noticed Jake Tongs is our third overall play today. Projected for very low ownership. I even messaged Moose to ask if it was correct, but around the industry, he's not projected very well. He's projected for very low ownership, but we kind of love him here. So Jake Tongs is one of our interesting flex plays tonight. We also have Christian McCaffrey as like the top play on the model by a mile. There's no George Kittle. He's unlikely to play. I think he was rolled out anyways, but Jake Tongs will start at tight end. And without George Kittle, we've seen Christian McCaffrey kind of have a tough time on the ground, but his passing work goes up without George Kittle. So we're thinking he's going to be just fine. He's projected for very heavy captain and MVP ownership on both sites, but we're pretty into it. I'm considering just locking him at MVP on FanDuel, but I'll see how that looks once I get closer to lock. Brock Purdy's another top captain option. And then Caleb Williams is probably going to be the third captain MVP option, projected for, I wouldn't say quite a bit, much less ownership than Brock Purdy, but he is projected for 13% on DraftKings, 18% as FanDuel MVP. He doesn't look awesome on the model, but there are some pieces on his team that are going to be very popular. So let me get into the injury report before we get into it anymore. San Francisco, 4-point favorites, 51-point total, very high total. We love that. Roma Dunes is out. DJ Moore is questionable, and Olamide Zacchaeus is questionable too. They were both late adds to the injury report with an illness, so that's a spot that we're definitely going to have to, deal with once the injury report comes out. If there was an update in the last hour or so, I didn't see it. If someone knows, go ahead and feel free to throw that in the chat and throw any questions in the chat. I'm here for you guys today. If they end up being out, we're going to be very interested in Luther Burden. His target share has been pretty good over the past few weeks. And, with no Zacchaeus on the field, we're going to hope to see numbers like this, 6, 7 targets. Hope one of them ends up in the end zone. He hasn't scored a touchdown in a while. He scored 1 touchdown in his career. But we are going to be pretty interested in him. His price, that's this captain price, 6,800. It's fine, especially if Moore and Zacchaeus end up missing. The Bears' right tackle, Darnell Wright, is questionable. Middle linebacker, TJ Edwards, is questionable. And cornerback, Nashawn Wright, is questionable. Looking at the rest of Chicago real quick, DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai project out very similarly in the model, and their ownership is pretty similar. Their price is like $1,000 apart. The difference I have in projection for him is basically the difference in price. So I think they both look fine. We're going to prefer Swift. He's going to be the number one here. He's gotten the majority of the work over the past few weeks, but Kyle Monangai has been seeing pretty good touches every single week. I mean, these extra targets would just be the cherry on top. But, if we get 10, 14, I don't think we're going to see 22. But if we get 10, 11 carries from Monangai tonight, he's going to look fine. If we are just picking between one, though, the model does have a preference for DeAndre Swift, and I think that makes a lot of sense. The tight ends on Chicago are pretty interesting. Colston Loveland is showing up as one of the top plays in the model today. Again, if Moore and Zacchaeus miss the game, like 4, 5, 6 targets seems pretty good for Colston Loveland. He's very cheap. We like getting to him, but I also want to mention Cole Kmet. He's a little cheaper, projected for half the ownership of Loveland. Loveland is projected for like 50% flex ownership right now, and he's actually projected for, I believe it was 6% captain ownership on DraftKings, so that's not insignificant. Cole Kmet, I don't know if we want to throw in any captain exposure, maybe if you're playing the big lottery over on DraftKings, but I think he's a solid flex option at 2,800. 3-4 targets is fine. The thing with these two tight ends is Cole Kmet has the second highest ADOT for a tight end in the NFL, and Loveland was, 5th or 6th or something like that. So the point is all of their targets are generally down the field, and so they're going to be more valuable than a lot of other players who see 3 to 4 to 5 targets. So I really think we want to mix both of them. And I think it's okay to play them both in the same lineup, even better if Moore and Zacchaeus miss. And I think that's an idea if you're playing Caleb Williams, captain or MVP, to play a little bit more of these tight ends. But like I said, Colston Loveland is very popular. Want to mention, is this it? Jade Walker. So he's seen 3 targets the entire season. They all came last week. But if Moore and Zacchaeus miss, I think he's a pretty decent candidate to soak up some of those routes. Let me just pull this up real quick. So last week, Roma Dunes has been out for 3 weeks. This will be the 4th week that he's out now. But so DJ Moore, we know, is going to play all the snaps if he's in. Zacchaeus played 86% of snaps last week. That was a season high. We should expect the same if he ends up playing. And if maybe DJ Moore misses and Zacchaeus is in, then he's probably going to be our top option, even over Burden here. Burden, he's only played over 50% of snaps in 1 week. That was week 14. He played 71%. There was no Roma Dunes. But if Moore or Zacchaeus miss, I have to imagine he's going to pick up most of those extra routes. But with Jade Walker, so he played 8 snaps total this season before last week. Then he saw 17 and drew 3 targets. So I got to think that he's the next guy up if DJ Moore or Zacchaeus miss with Roma Dunes already out. So I'm going to be interested in him. He's probably going to come in at 1% owned. The model doesn't really think much of him, but I think he's an option we can mix in. It'd be better if he was closer to like $1,000, but $2,400 is fine. There aren't that many studs on this slate that we really want to pay up for, other than CMC and the quarterbacks probably. So I think this is a guy we can consider in the largest fields. And I'll also mention Devin Duvernay. He only ran 6 routes last week. He didn't draw a target, but if Moore and Zacchaeus miss, he could be a candidate to get some routes. And as we've seen on so many showdowns, 1 target could be enough for a lot of these cheap guys. So not a good play, but I just want to throw him out there that he is probably going to play some snaps tonight. All right. Knocked out Chicago. Let's see some comments. Appreciate everybody showing up to the show. We don't have many more of these together, so let's enjoy the end of football season. Didn't have the best DFS afternoon. Yeah, hopefully we had a good one yesterday. I thought we did pretty good. One of our members chopped the $3 showdown for the late game. Pretty good, $3,800 score. Love that. We got close. We just needed Gadsden yesterday. The difference between him and Dalton Schultz was pretty significant. Eli, in single entry on DraftKings, you have an idea who to choose at captain from San Francisco, but you don't know about the Chicago side if you go that route. Yeah, so Chicago captains, let me pull up the model. Chicago captains are tough. And what's interesting about this too is when I was kind of trying to figure out what the field was going to do, I think they're going to build fairly evenly between both teams in terms of 4-2 builds, 3-3 builds. Now, San Francisco will definitely be much more popular at captain and MVP, but maybe CMC captain, Brock Purdy in the flex for Bears players, or CMC Purdy and Jake Tongs with 3 Bears players. So even though the build types are going to be pretty similar, there's going to be a lot more San Francisco captain MVP. So an option to get different is to just play any Chicago player at captain MVP. Caleb Williams, I already mentioned, is probably going to be our top option here now. I don't think too much of Caleb Williams. Pretty sure. I can't even say this is overperforming. It doesn't even seem that good, but this team is definitely overperforming. Plug in Caleb Williams. CMC is going to be involved in the pass game, so we're definitely okay running him in the flex here. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit Brock Purdy, but we do have a lot of value plays down here. Let's get Colston Loveland. We'll throw in Jake Tongs. Now, like I said, Tongs is projected for very low ownership. I don't know. I kind of don't believe it. I'm pretty sure he comes in at least double digits. We have him projected for 3% right now. But he's one of the top plays on the model, so we do like getting him in the flex. And with the kind of a lower owned captain, this is already a pretty decent amount of leverage. I don't think we have to try very hard to do anything else to get different in this lineup. Filling in the last spot, throw in the Bears defense, Niners defense against Caleb Williams would be fine. Would like to get a second Bears receiver. Could go Walker. 2,400 is a little bit too much to leave. Is that enough to get to Luther? Yeah, we can upgrade Loveland to Burden. It's an idea. Walker is like a very, very Should be a very low-owned pivot, though. Burden and Komet is an option, too. Get 2 pass catchers with Caleb Williams, and we like Komet at the lower ownership than Loveland. So that's an idea. If we want to go away from Caleb Williams, I mean, I think Burden would be the top option, assuming Moore and Zacchaeus miss. And then Swift. Swift is projected for pretty low ownership, too. I don't know that he's a great captain option, but projected for 7% on DraftKings and only 4% MVP on FanDuel. That seems fine. The model likes him enough. So maybe I don't know. Bears defense has been okay, right? Maybe we'll look for a Swift captain lineup. I don't know how we can fade CMC. We have too much value on the slate. We're going to end up leaving too much salary. But we can go Caleb Williams. Let's try it with a Bears defense. Bears defense projected for single-digit ownership. I think that's a spot we can get a little bit over despite the high total here. Want to get one with Loveland in there. Leaves us 7,800. We didn't even have to get to Jake Tongs. We could slide in Pearsall. Monangai is an idea if you're playing in the largest fields. A little more awkward to play 2 running backs when one of them's at captain, but it is an option. They could both definitely find the end zone in this game. Probably want to get a pass catcher, though. Luther Burden, like leaving 1,000 even with the DeAndre Swift captain seems okay. I know that Loveland is going to pull a little bit of ownership, but I don't know. I just don't think it's really necessary unless you think Loveland is like the high scorer on the slate. You know, he's the guy that you just need, the Derrick Henry from yesterday. But we can run Loveland, CMC, Purdy, Caleb Williams, and still have 5,200 left. Like we can just get our 2 favorite value plays, Tongs. I guess Loveland was our other favorite value play. He's already a captain, but yeah, just get him Monangai, Luther Burden. Maybe could we get up to Swift somehow? Cole Kmet, 2,800. No, but we could get to Ricky Pearsall. He's questionable, projected for very low ownership. I mean, these targets seem fine. I'm not really sure why he's projected for such low ownership, especially, with the George Kittle thing, what I said about the run game having a tougher time without George Kittle. So if CMC is going to see more work in the passing game, sure, that might take away a couple targets from Ricky Pearsall, but it probably adds some passing attempts to Brock Purdy stat line. So Ricky Pearsall at pretty low ownership, I think, is a pretty solid guy to get in there. Seems okay. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the San Francisco side before we go any further. Nice. Let me get a drink real quick. Week 17 kind of sucked for fantasy playoffs, right? I won my one home league. That matters anyway, but no success in the best ball finals. Pretty disappointing, but we'll get them next year. Chris and I are going to start doing playoff best ball streams pretty soon here, so make sure you watch the channel for that. Chris took down a playoff best ball contest last year, so we're really excited to hear him tell us who to draft this year. For the San Francisco side, Ricky Pearsall, I mentioned, is questionable. He's expected to play. Kittle, I think he got ruled out kind of recently, but he's not going to play. And then the cornerback, Renardo Green, is out. So just a small hit to the defense. I mean, we're not super worried about the Bears passing game, so I'm not making any adjustments because of that. CMC, I already mentioned it. He's like the top option overall, any lineup position. We love getting him in MVP. I mentioned I'm considering him playing only CMC at MVP tonight. Could make that consideration on DraftKings too. It's a little bit different with how the salary works, though. I just think we have enough value. It's not really hard to get there. Let's see. Get Luther Burden in there, assuming Moore and Zacchaeus miss. I mean, Jake Tongs is down here. Loveland's 4,400. Cole Kmet's 2,800. We got 3 tight ends who all look pretty good. And I'll mention Luke Farrell really quickly. We have him projected for ownership, and I don't really understand why. I think we even actually just saw it yesterday with our members win. He had Rasheen Ali at 2% owned. He scored like 2 fantasy points, but what he allowed you to do was fit in an extra stud. In this case, it ended up being Tyler Huntley. We don't have that many studs on this slate, though. I guess there weren't that many in yesterday's slate either. But I think the point is the field is probably going to rely on Luke Farrell a little bit too much. He really doesn't run that many routes. He's going to see an uptick in snaps, but like his fantasy value is really minimal. We probably just need him to catch a touchdown, or because like I mentioned, the salary thing could make lineups work, but we have Komet and Tongs both, like they're not that much more expensive, and I think they both have a much higher chance of giving us a meaningful fantasy score tonight. I mentioned Kyle Juszczyk too. He's in the same boat, projected for like 20% ownership. He's very cheap. He might let us build a lineup that we can't get to otherwise, but I think that's pretty much it. Maybe he finally scores a touchdown since he's so popular tonight. But let's throw in Jake Tongs with the CMC captain. We have 8,500 left per position. Is DJ Moore officially in? Nope. I don't really want to throw Swift. Let's just throw Caleb Williams. 5,100. Get to Kendrick Bourne. Loveland seems fine. Like this is a pretty cookie cutter lineup, I think, for FanDuel. Just start with this and then pivot off somebody here. This is going to be a little bit of a chalky build, even though Tongs is probably going to come in with not that much ownership. This is a really easy lineup to get to. We are leaving 700 though, so probably not super duped. Yeah, appreciate you, man. Had a good holiday. I hope you guys had a good one too. Got New Year's coming up. Still in the holiday spirit. DFS is the most fun in this last week of the year, and we do tend to randomly just win a tournament. So hopefully it's tonight. Luther as a captain opens up a lot of room. Yeah, it does. We can get in all the studs. Kittle, yeah, Kittle. We're not expecting to play. There's Court Jester. I don't know, dude. I haven't heard from him all day. He's out living his life today. I think you're asking about if DJ Moore and Zacchaeus are not out. So if those guys end up playing, let's take a look here. So DJ Moore rates out pretty well on the model today. So we're going to be interested in DJ Moore. As for Zacchaeus, let me just double check his targets. Because Zacchaeus probably runs the second most routes, or he should, even ahead of Luther Burden. Zacchaeus the last 4 weeks, 5 targets, 333. And DJ Moore, 75357. The thing with DJ is, other than that one game where he randomly, I guess he did it a couple times. So if DJ's in, he's projected for very low ownership right now. This is a captain spot we can get over the field on pretty easily. I mean, DJ, we have projected for 2% captain ownership on DraftKings, 2% MVP on FanDuel. DJ Moore, I mean, that's got to be the spot at his ownership in larger fields, especially. As for Zacchaeus, not really interested in him as a captain MVP option, but he's definitely going to be a strong flex option. We have him projected for pretty low ownership too if he ends up playing. Hey, Mac Rommel, appreciate you. Thanks. High total game, double kicker night. I'm not usually too big a fan of double kicker, and we don't have as much of a need for the value that the kickers offer us tonight because of all those other value plays we've been talking about. I don't hate it though. I'm not against it. I just don't think it's super necessary. And they're both only projected for around 23-24% ownership on DraftKings. They're both above 30% on FanDuel. So that's an interesting one. I'll mention the model has a slight preference for Eddie Pinheiro over on San Francisco. Cairo Santos still looks fine though too. Appreciate you, Space Donut. Hope you did too. I think you actually, was that you that shipped yesterday? You had a pretty good holiday, I think. Just went outside. How was it, dude? It's cold, right? Would I do Tongs captain? The thing is, it's like with a lot of these other value captains, I just don't think it's necessary unless you think Tongs is going to be, the high score on the slate. These would be awesome. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, though, most of these games came with Mac Jones. Like, not that it really matters. Purdy's still going to give him the 3 or 5 targets, whatever. But I don't think he's a good captain option. For example, we'll throw him in there. Where is he? Tongs, McCaffrey, Purdy, Kittle. I mean, he lets you fit in all of the studs, right? Zacchaeus, Demarcus Robinson, one of the defenses, Cole Kmet. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. I can't imagine this is going to be a very low owned lineup. Like, this will be played tonight, right? If Zacchaeus is out, maybe it's a little bit less clear with who you play from here. And I don't know, leaving salary when you're playing this cheap captain, I think it just defeats a little bit of the advantage we get from playing that cheap captain. So I don't love it. I think we can just slide him into the flex, unless you really want to play CMC, Purdy, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, and whichever guy from here in the same lineup. Yeah, exactly. Farrell doesn't run that many routes, and so maybe he'll draw 1 to 2 targets, but Tongs will be running most of the passing routes. Yeah, I know. That's what I said. There's no way Tongs is going to come in at 3%, but other sites have him for 5 and 6% projected ownership. He's not projected well. We're the only site that has him projected as a really strong play. So more like 30. I wouldn't be surprised if he came in as high as 30%. Yeah, I mean, people are aware that he did very well when Kittle was out before, so they're going to go back to him regardless of how the industry is projecting him. San Francisco's pasty is getting flooded. What's up, Annie? Happy to have you here. But San Francisco's front seven got 4 or 5 guys back last week. Rivers still hammed anyway. Well, Rivers is, I mean, that's a borderline Hall of Famer there. I guess we'll find out in 5 years. You don't know who Luke Farrell even is? Yeah, me neither, bro. Appreciate all the comments in here, Spelkowski. Thank you. Dude, let's go. Jamie Robbins, 45th in the puppy with CMC, Caleb, DJ, and Loveland. Okay, so you're rooting for this game to go over for sure. It's a pretty easy one. CMC just scores 2 touchdowns, catches 7 passes. Caleb throws a touchdown each to DJ and Loveland. Good luck, man. Pearsall captain? It's an idea, yeah. It's I mean, I don't think it stands out too much. The model isn't super high on Pearsall, but he's going to come in with like no captain ownership. So it's really easy leverage. You can pretty much just play whoever else you want if you go this route. CMC. I mean, not salary wise, but you don't really have to consider ownership anymore if you're playing Pearsall captain. So CMC, Purdy. Can we get Caleb? I think we could. I mean, this is actually probably going to be a fairly popular Pearsall captain lineup, but it still shouldn't be duped that much. Cole Kmet and Tongs leaving 400. If you want to do an insane thing in only this contest, the $25 $1 million Sunday night showdown, play this guy, Ja'Day Walker. Probably scores 0 fantasy points, but I don't mind burning a couple percent on him. Jennings was banged up. Pearsall and Kittle were both out during the Tongs games. Yeah, that sounds right. Let me just make sure he was out for all of them. So Tongs from week 2 to week 6, targets 5, 3, 5, 11, 7. Jawan Jennings only missed 2 of those games. The 11 target game and the 3 target game for Tongs were the 2 games that Jennings missed. But he still saw pretty strong targets in the 3 or 4 games that he played alongside Jennings. So I'm not really worried about that. In the 3 games. Kittle missed 5 games. Jake Tongs had 3 good games, even with Jawan Jennings in, and Ricky Pearsall was in for at least 2 of them. I'm not sure if he just got 0 targets or missed this game. He probably missed, but yeah, I mean, it's only a super small sample, so we can't read into it too much, but it shows me enough that I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable playing him. Yep, exactly. But with even if you are playing an expensive captain, like I mentioned, we have enough guys projected for under 20% flex ownership, I guess, would be considered low owned. Like if we fade Kyle Juszczyk a little bit, and who's the other guy pulling too high of ownership? Like Luke Farrell is projected for 40% ownership. That's not real. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's probably actually going to come in with higher ownership than Tongs. I don't get that at all. The model doesn't hate Farrell on DraftKings. It hates him on FanDuel. So if we are playing Farrell, probably do it on DraftKings. It's projected for 40% ownership, though. I only see him as a play that helps you build lineups, and we have other cheap guys to help us do that. Cole Kmet, 26%. I mean, Kyle Monangai is not cheap, but he's 7K, projected for 18% ownership. Zacchaeus, 14. DJ Moore, 13. Pearsall, 11. And then we got a few guys projected for 0% ownership. Now, I don't know if these are good plays, but I don't want to forget about them. Demarcus Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, mostly just those two. And I guess Sky Moore, we haven't projected for 1% ownership at 1K. But we have enough lower owned guys. We don't have to force in a low owned captain just to get to a low owned captain. Like the high owned captain, CMC is that high owned for a reason. He's like far and away the top fantasy option on this slate. So I really don't mind just overloading on CMC captain. 5-1 builds. Yeah, I mentioned when I was trying to figure out what the field is doing, the field really likes 5-1 Bears builds. I got to assume it's with CMC at captain, or CMC is mostly the one in those builds. But then San Francisco 5-1 wasn't showing up that much. And I mean, think about it. The value plays on Chicago, we have Zacchaeus, Komet, Loveland. San Francisco, we have Farrell, Tongs, all those 0% receivers I just named. And so I guess it is a little more intuitive to play 5 Chicago players versus 5 San Francisco players. But when I was building my first dummy earlier, I picked 6 San Francisco players. So that's an idea. It's not going to be super low owned, though. So don't think you're getting a huge advantage by overloading on one side versus the other. But the Bears 5-1s will be more popular than San Francisco tonight. Appreciate you. Kendrick Bourne, maybe a leverage play over Tongs. I agree that Bourne's a leverage play. I don't necessarily think he is over Tongs. Their prices aren't exactly similar, and Tongs is probably not going to come in with super heavy ownership anyway. It's definitely going to be ownership leverage, but I don't know. If their prices were exactly the same, maybe I'd be a little bit more interested. The thing with Kendrick Bourne is he can put up a big score on only a few targets. I suppose Jake Tongs could too if he catches a touchdown, but Model likes Bourne enough, and I'm a fan of him anyway, so I'm probably a little bit biased when these guys are on the slate. You're locking in Walker. That's Ben Johnson's boy, more so with the lack of wide receiver. Okay, I like it. Didn't talk to anyone else about Walker, so I didn't get any other opinions on him, but just looking at what we have tonight, I think he's a pretty good option at 0% ownership. He probably comes in 1 or 2% owned maybe, but I think he's fine to mix in. I'll mention the model thinks very little of Walker, even after he saw 3 targets on just a few routes run last week. So we have Loveland projected for 50% flex ownership on DK, 40% on FanDuel. Cole Kmet, 26% on DK, 10% on FanDuel. So it's definitely Cole Kmet for the ownership play, but I'm actually a little surprised Loveland isn't more expensive. He's only 48 and 4,400 versus Cole Kmet 2,800 on both sites. So we're saving a little bit of salary. But yeah, with them, it's mostly just we're getting Kmet at half the ownership of Loveland on top of saving the salary. So I like that one. But Loveland, even at the higher ownership, like the model prefers him. I think he's going to be the default option, and then maybe you can swap down to Kmet if you need to save that ownership. Yeah, Tongs is only 3K regardless of who's in. The thing is, we have a lot of guys in that 3K range, though. Really easy for any of them to outscore Tongs. But the thing with Tongs for me is he's so low owned, and the model really likes him at the price. So pretty into it on DraftKings anyway. Pearsall back hurts Bourne the most. Bourne basically the direct backup to Jennings and Pearsall. Yeah, that's why Bourne's not really projected for any ownership. But I will mention 2 weeks ago with Jennings and Pearsall in the game, Bourne still drew 3 targets. And then earlier in the season, this is like 2 months ago already, in games that all 3 of them played, Kendrick Bourne saw 3, 6, 4 targets. So it's enough that we're going to be interested in that player when no one else in the field is going to be playing him really. How owned would Loveland be if he was 3K? I don't think he'd be that much higher owned because his price is already at a point where like he kind of allows us to do what we want to do with him, right? When we're building our lineup. So maybe he'd be slightly higher owned, but he's already projected for 50 and 40% ownership. It's not that often you see guys projected for much higher ownership than that in the flex, except under very special circumstances. Stacking QBs. Yeah, let's take a look at I mean, we kind of figured one out here with playing both of the QBs here. Let's run Brock Purdy at MVP though and see how that works. Purdy, CMC, Caleb Williams. I guess we'll try Loveland as our top pass catcher for Caleb. Monangai for a little bit of leverage leaves us 3,900 to get to Robinson, Tongs, Komet, Farrell, if that's what you want to do. It's not hard. Yeah, we have to probably play a bunch of these tight ends, Loveland, Tongs, and Komet to fit in both quarterbacks with CMC comfortably, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Definitely make sure all your lineups aren't just two tight ends, though, to fit in more studs. We do want to mix it up a little bit, but if you're only making a couple lineups, I think it's pretty good. Stacking more than two running backs? I don't know that we want to stack more than two running backs. The thing with CMC is, like I keep talking about, I think his passing game involvement goes up tonight. So even in a negative game script, I mean, he'd have a role regardless, but tonight it's probably a little bit more than it would be. Like a Swift MVP, it might feel a little awkward, but it's probably okay. I don't know that we want to put Kyle Monangai here. Yeah, let's try this actually. Monangai and Swift in the flex. Just run CMC captain, I guess. Purdy still have 5,800 per player. We can't get to Caleb here, but we have both running backs, so maybe we just hope Caleb doesn't pass for a touchdown. One of the defenses can do Bears. Let's just get to Zacchaeus. We could take a deep shot on Kendrick Bourne, but this is already a lot of leverage. I don't know that we need to play Bourne just for that low ownership. If you like Bourne, sure, but nothing. Bourne going to play like 25% of snaps. I think it's fine. I mean, 25% of snaps would be enough. His price is not good, but we're interested in Bourne because he has the ability to put up a good fantasy score, and no one's playing him today. He has a real model rating too. He's not the minimum model rating, so I don't know. He probably comes in 3% owned. You like Komet because people are going to spam Loveland? It's definitely possible, yeah. Loveland, like I said, they both see similar work. Loveland's going to see a couple more targets on average, but Komet's targets are slightly more valuable because of his high ADOT. Yeah, I don't know. Komet catches a 40-yard touchdown tonight. Is anyone going to be surprised? I know I'll be pretty happy about that. Oh no, are the Bills losing? Seeing some negative comments about Josh Allen. The other guys missed time in those Bourne games. Maybe the games that Kendrick Bourne went off, yeah. That week 13 when Bourne saw, not week 13, week 5 when Bourne saw 11 targets. Pearsall and Jennings were out. Worth noting, Demarcus Robinson saw 7 targets that week. It's interesting. But I mean, we're not like expecting a lot from Bourne. Most of the time he is going to do nothing. I'm just pointing him out because no one's playing him. Kick return for a touchdown? It's possible. That would kind of break open the slate a little bit, right? Imagine a defensive touchdown in the first quarter. It'd be disgusting. All right. If Pearsall is out on DraftKings, let's take a look. So, wow, we're already at 40 minutes in. You guys are asking a lot of good questions today. Appreciate everybody being here. Thought I was going to be out of here a little early today, but nope. Don't mind. Happy to do this. Tongs, Walker. Who did that leave a salary for? Oh, Bourne as our last player. I think going Bourne and Walker is probably a little bit, it's probably doing too much, right? Because Tongs, we're just going to operate with the information we have. He's projected for low ownership, so let's assume he comes in low owned. Even though we're playing the highest owned captain by far, we're asking for a lot to happen to hit this combo of three guys as the winners. And so I don't hate playing Walker or Bourne, but I think it's just you're giving up a lot in projection if you're trying to play both of them. Like, could just get the Bears defense. That would be a fine contrarian build. Komet would still be similar, but at least Komet sees targets every week. Walker has seen targets once this season. So besides the price, why so high on Tongs? Because the model is really high on Tongs. I knew we were going to be interested, and like I said, I was a little surprised how low owned he's projected for. But remember, the model is price sensitive, and at 3K on DraftKings, Tongs is the third overall play. I'll mention Loveland is fourth. Christian McCaffrey, Juwan Jennings, Tongs, and Loveland. And I have not given any love to Juwan Jennings today on this show, but Jennings looks great. He's a wide receiver one here, especially all the stuff I'm talking about. Maybe Brock Purdy throws a few more passes today. Jennings would be a beneficiary, so we love Jennings. Don't think I'm not putting him in builds because I don't like him. Probably just glossing over him a little much. Let's try it. Let's throw him in a build here. Pretty tough to play him with a CMC captain if you're trying to get both of the quarterbacks in there. Have to go to two of these gross plays down here, so maybe we could try Jennings at a captain. He's a second play on the model, so while it might feel like we're giving up a lot compared to CMC captain, still seems pretty good. 2,300. Yeah, still pretty awkward. Have to get to two of these gross guys down here, so probably have to fade one of the quarterbacks. Fade. All right, let's try this with a CMC captain. Jennings in the flex. We're going to fade Caleb in here. Guess we can throw DeAndre. Nope, can't throw DeAndre Swift. We'll fade Tongs since been playing him in like every lineup. We'll put Loveland in here though. 4,150 for two players. I mean, we could go Tongs in the defense, Komet in the defense. Zacchaeus and Bears defense is kind of awkward, but it's an idea. Yeah, Tongs or Komet. But my point right now is just Jennings is a good play. I don't want you guys to think I'm off of Jennings today. Jennings a captain? Yeah, I think Jennings is a good captain too. He's only projected for 4% ownership, so that seems good. Pierce all in, nice. Mac Jones is probably a Bourne guy. That's another point too. Yeah, Mac Jones was the guy throwing to Bourne in those weeks that he saw multiple targets. Besides ownership at captain, Williams is a better play because of rushing upside. I don't think so. No, I don't think this is enough for me to really give Caleb any like kind of big boosts here for his rushing upside. He has some. He does have some. Bourne should probably be like 2K, but anybody can score a touchdown. Yeah, if Bourne was 2K, he'd probably pull a little bit more ownership. We'd be more interested, but like his situation would still be the same. Tongs is a starting tight end at 3K. Giga underpriced. Well, I mean, think about some of the other tight ends that we've seen on recent showdown slates. Like Mark Andrews was in the 5K range. I don't think Dalton Schultz was super expensive on the showdown. Goddard's been like super cheap. So I wouldn't say he's giga underpriced. He's definitely underpriced for the role he's likely to have tonight. But like if he was super duper underpriced, he would be projected for much higher ownership, which we don't have him for. But I think that's my time, fellas. That's going to do it. If you want to see the updates on the model after we're on stream, or just, you want to build out your lineups, try out the lineup builder, you can sign up on the site, occupyfantasy.com. The lineup builder is a separate package, but the access to the plugs, the model, it's all under, or I'm sorry, not under, but it's $7 a week. It's $1 a day. It's one of the best values in a fantasy sports strategy. Make sure you watch the injury report. We need to know if DJ Moore and Zacchaeus are playing. And then it sounds like most of the questionable guys that we weren't sure about on San Francisco anyway are going to play. Pierce Hall, the main one. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Good luck tonight. Let's get another Occupy ship and throw it in Discord.